So for Washington, Chase Young's not going to play, which is a big break for the Lions' offensive line. But with the Lions, Ragnow hasn't practiced. He played last week, so I think they're probably just giving him some rust. I would expect Vitae to still be out, and then Kramer, the backup for Vitae, is hurt as well. So the Lions are down another offensive lineman, and they'll have to replace somebody there. I think this will be a way lower scoring game than what the Lions and the Eagles were, but it will be a closer game, from start to finish. I don't think either of these teams is going to get down, 17 points like the Lions were to the Commanders. Carson Wentz is, I think, a worse quarterback than Jalen Hurts. He's just about in that Jared Goff tier to me. And then you have Terry McLaurin and Jeff Okudah. I guess it's possible he's not on McLaurin, but both guys went to Ohio State. So hopefully Okudah knows some of McLaurin's tricks, and if they get matched up, he can he can do something with it, like he did with Devontae Smith last week. And then for the Lions, I expect them to try and do a lot of the same, right? I expect them to try and run the ball and establish the run early, get the ball in DeAndre Swift's hands and get him active, and then you just hope for less mistakes. Last week there was a pick six, there was a couple different drops by the Lions, and those are just things that the Lions really can't have happen if they want to win any of these games. So I expect this game in totality to just be like a grinded out sort of game where we're going to see a lot less fireworks than what we saw last Sunday, but hopefully not as many fireworks still results in a Lions W, and then I think we'll all be fine with that. But how do you see the game playing out?
Well, the big killer that the Eagles had on the Lions, Washington does not. They don't have a mobile quarterback. Carson Wentz is not mobile. He looked great last week, threw 4 touchdowns. First time he's done that since he was wearing an Eagles jersey. They have weapons, and that's where I'm worried. You have Curtis Samuel, McLaurin you talked about, and obviously Antonio Gibson as well. McLaurin's fast, and fast wide receivers have given the Lions fits in the past. And so I'm worried about it's kind of almost like a little bit like the Michigan State Spartans in Washington, where if the pressure is not getting to Wentz and Wentz has time to pick the secondary apart, Lions are in trouble. If Aiden Hutchinson and co. are able to get pressure on Wentz, he's not escaping and running for 15, 20 yards the way that Hurts was doing. So you have that element not really available for Washington. They hit you in different ways. I do think Wentz is a better passer of the ball than Jalen Hurts is. But generally, traditional quarterbacks don't do, unless you are the elite of the elite, they don't do as well against the Lions as mobile quarterbacks do. So that, to me, is what this is going to come down to. Can Amani and Jeff Okudah stay with Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin? What are they going to do about Antonio Gibson, who has a ton of size and speed and pretty good hands as well? He had, 7 catches last week for 72 yards, hurting them out of the backfield with those catches against this secondary that I still don't trust. This defense is going to give up points. We knew this coming into the season. We talked about this. Can the offense pace them enough that it doesn't hurt them in the win column when they give up 28 points, 31 points? Can the Lions put up 35 plus? They did it last week against the Eagles, having to come back and do it. And is Goff going to get off to a better start this week? He can't get off to the same start that he got off to last week. That first half was atrocious. He was 3 of his first 10. That's terrible. And a pick 6 that he threw it right to the defense. His own receiver faked him out on the out and up. And that can't happen. Goff has got to be sharper to start the game. The Lions have everything they need to win this game. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. They just need to put it together.
Yeah, they do need to put it together, and if they do, I think they probably have some more talent than what the Commanders have, especially on offense. And even last week, the Lions' offensive line held up against a good Eagles' defensive line. I expect that to happen this week as well. Even without Chase Young, the Commanders have a good defensive line, but if the Lions' offensive line is able to keep them out of the backfield and keep Goff clean, I think in totality the Commanders' defense is worse than what the Eagles is. So Goff should theoretically, right, have an easier time of hitting the spots in the Commanders' defense. Swift probably can't have a much easier time running against the Commanders than he did against the Eagles, but he should still be effective in this game. Not 9 yards a carry effective, but he should be able to kind of do what he needs to do to put the Lions in position to win. And I kind of think that's where it's going to come down from, right? Is they have to erase those little mistakes. The receivers can't be dropping passes. Goff has to hit his spots, and when he does hit them, the receivers, again, like they have to make the play. And then I think the Lions, again, have to go through DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. Now, DeAndre Swift hasn't practiced for 2 straight days. He did tell Dave Burkett, the Lions beat reporter, that his ankle injury is nothing to worry about. So I don't think there's any fear of him missing Sunday, and it might just be the Lions trying to load manage him. But that is something to look for with DeAndre Swift, and maybe watch on Sunday if he does seem a little slower, or if Jamal Williams is getting in there maybe a little more often, then it's something that might be able to turn the outcome of the game a little bit. But I think the Lions have a much better chance of beating the Commanders than they did the Eagles.
All right, let's talk rookies for a second in this game, because there's a couple big name ones on each side of the ball for this one. So for the Lions, obviously Aiden Hutchinson. The numbers don't show much for last week for him. It's got to be better. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the man gets his first NFL career sack in this game, and I hope that comes to fruition. On the other side, for Washington, Jahan Dotson, the stud out of Penn State, who had a nice welcome to the NFL last week as he, 3 catches, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns for the rookie right out the gate. And that's a fast, talented receiver against our abysmal secondary. You gotta worry about him in the red zone as well, when Washington gets down there, because that's another weapon that they could use to expose the Lions defense.
Yeah, I mean, so with Jahan Dotson, and maybe it's just because I didn't like him so much coming out of college, and I'm still holding on to that, but 2 touchdowns in your debut is obviously a really good debut. But if you just looked at that, 3 catches for 40 yards, and he didn't have the touchdown luck with it, then I think you'd be obviously way less impressed. But, I mean, you talked about the Commanders' weapons already with McLaurin, with Dotson, with Curtis Samuel, and it is a whole heck of a lot of speed that they have there, and it's not something that I think the Lions can take for granted. It's something that's going to put pressure on their defense, even if these guys aren't the best overall wide receivers. Just being able to run right by you, right? Or if you miss one tackle, then they could be off to the races. That puts some extra pressure on the defense. And I like your prediction with Hutchinson. I think I'm there with you, that he'll get a sack and kind of put last week behind him, because I just think he'll work at it, right? He seems like the kind of guy who he knows he didn't play well. He hears people talk about how well that he didn't play. So I think he'll use that to fuel him and then have a better game this Sunday against the Commanders. So I'm with you there, and that's the test, because I don't think the Commanders are going to beat the Lions by running the ball. I don't think Antonio Gibson's going to go out there and have 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, and we're going to be like, oh well, we just couldn't stop him. If they do beat the Lions, it will be because those receivers, got busy, they got open, they were able to create separation away from the Lions defenders, and unfortunately, that is a very weak part of the Lions defense. Pretty much almost like the entire defense is, but going up against speedy receivers does present a unique challenge that Philadelphia necessarily didn't, but even then we saw one receiver kill us all day. And I think the Commanders do have the capability to do that as well.
You think McLaurin could have an A.J. Brown-like day?
I think he can. I really like McLaurin.
I do too. I'm trying to think of which wide receiver would be the one to have that A.J. Brown-like day. I don't think it's Samuel. I think out of the 2 stud wide receivers they have, I think it's McLaurin that would have that kind of day.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from BSN, and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.